Alright, so alright, so I still got the glare behind me, so we're gonna do it this way. I was just kind of poking around on YouTube and I found something. Oh shit. Oh, I'm sorry, somebody posted a comment just now. Anyway, a quick update on that. It's 651 horsepower for that case series I was talking about, which is exactly what I thought it was, but I couldn't find the exact picture, so I let it be. But yeah, 651 is what I made. So almost, we're halfway to 700 fucking horsepower. But anyway, I digress. Return back to the topic at hand. Prelude D16's fucking budget single cam high compression. I do quotations because a decent amount of money went into this fucking engine build beyond what's the budget. Now, I was just poking around for high compression horsepower numbers. I kind of had a decent idea what I thought it was going to be, and then I found his video, and I was initially impressed by this at first because of what I seen on the dyno, right? You see here the final number is 143 and 116. Now the torque is pathetic, but it's a single cam, so what are we going to do? But the horsepower is decently impressive for what it is. Now what makes this horsepower number super impressive is this is a 9 horsepower increase. A 9 horsepower increase from an intake alone. 9 wheel horsepower jump from not changing the tune, but just adding the intake. Right? You see at the very beginning of the video, shit, I can't find it exactly. But anyway, they had a little short ram intake on there, and then I think he tests 2 other ones, and what he ends up with is like one of those like foghorn type shits. You know, one of those ones that you kind of there. Well, I don't know. It's a good screen. There it is, right here. This is the intake they switched to. It's a 3-inch intake. They had a shorter one on here earlier with a generic intake code on it, and they went from that to this, which is the open bell. Like, I'm pretty sure this is the one you see on the case series digging out of headlights and shit all the time, right? There's no intake filter on here. It's just that, right? So that netted him 9 wheel horsepower just adding it on, not changing the tune, right? So this goes back to what I was talking about for Edgar's build the other day. Edgar had a stock intake hose on here and the stock airbox filter, and he made 240, or not 200, but 144 wheel horsepower. Now, I think if he'd just from yanking the filter out alone, he would have crossed 150 wheel horsepower. And I think if he'd got the nice big ass 3-inch intake on there, we're talking about maybe even like 155. So, high compression engine, definitely need to let the oxygen flow, right? So this is a huge fucking modification right here, and it's one of the most simple ones to do, an intake, right? So now going to talk about itself, the engine itself, and like he made 143 wheel horsepower at the end of the day. So I had to dig through his channel and find another video to see exactly his build list he used, right? So at first I was kind of bummed out about the whole cam. He used the cam to make that horsepower, but at the same time, I'm not really that surprised. Almost 150 wheel horsepower. Usually, when I see numbers like that, it's cam included, right? So I wasn't familiar with the cam, so I went and I dug it up on eBay, and this is where I got happy again, right? Because the comp cams D16, this is not the exact same one he used. It's a little less lift, but $250 fucking dollars, right? That's a pretty solid. That's a pretty good number for a camshaft, considering the other day we talked about B series cams, and 380 I think was the cheap B series cam for non-VTEC. So that's a pretty fucking solid number. If you consider if you would build forged pistons and rods or cast pistons with forged rods, that's the same cost as generic forged rods are. So I'm impressed with that number, right? Now you go down. I actually did find the one that he used. It's on the list. And I see here it's the 260 VTEC and it's $339, but that's still under the cost of what you use for dock VTEC, and it's still a pretty good fucking price. Oh shit! Okay, these are bids, but yeah, so $250 for aftermarket cam. Now on his list, you can see that he used he did upgrade the valve train, for SS Racing valves. Now, and the Brian Crowder springs and retainers. Now, I didn't go and check the lift of this new cam versus the stock, so I don't know if it's possible to use this as a drop-in. That's something I'd like to dig into later, but this is like a quick overview type video type deal, so that's why I'm just, I didn't look into it. high compression YCP pistons. These are the P29 pistons that YCP makes. So P29 pistons, Hastings rings come with the pistons, ARP head studs. Now I want to talk real quick about just like saving some extra money on this build because it is a budget. Now I would have to double check the lift to see if we can get away with running the stock valve train, but that's potentially a couple $100 in savers if you can. Or using one of the lesser cams that they have, maybe shaving off 5 or so horsepower, but keeping the stock valve train. I'd have to look into that further, like I've been saying. ARP head studs, I would do away with those. I don't think that those are something that's necessary for a build like this. VMS block guard, you guys know I fucking hate those, so do away with the block guard. Save yourself $80. VMS crank pulley. I'm not a fan of aftermarket pulleys, except for like the ones that are super dampers. If you're not using a super damper, I would not recommend switching out your crank pulley. So stock Y7 fucking crank pulley, save yourself a little money there. King's bearings, of course, King bearings is fine. AU true time cam gear. I can't argue with that. If you're gonna use an aftermarket cam in the cam gear, you want to get a decent cam gear. You don't want to cheap out and get one that'll fuck up on you. Now stage 3 XTD clutch and flywheel. My decision on using this kind of clutch would depend on the cost. I think that you can get away with using a stock flywheel, no problem with this, with the torque levels on here. 116 foot-pounds, that ain't no big deal. Ain't no reason to fucking rush out and buy an aftermarket clutch. I think you could use a stock fucking clutch on there with no problems. So I guess the XTD clutch package would have to just see how much it costs. Now the flywheel, you could get away with using a stock flywheel there. The aftermarket flywheel anyway, it comes down to just rotating assembly and how much weight you're pulling on it. So yeah, I mean, if you got yourself one, but I wouldn't stress yourself on it. So as far as the budget goes, there's a fairly decent amount of shit that's on this that you could shave off that would be like excess fat for the engine that you could save on some money on it. Now it's not a fuck ton of savers, but a decent amount, because you're talking about the head studs are $100 you can save. The block guards it's like $80 you can save. So that's $180 right there. The crank pulley, I think those cheap ones are like $50. I'm not 100% sure. You have to check again. But that's a decent amount of money. That's a couple $100, a couple plus $100 in savers just right there, shaving off some excess fat. But overall, I guess I'm impressed with the build, simply because of the fact that this cam that is an aftermarket cam that doesn't really cost that much money. So when I talk about this single cam high compression thing being a good decent build to go off of, yeah, I think you can't really go wrong. Considering these, you don't have to get YCP or Nippon Racing for these pistons. These are OEM pistons, and if you can just find them, if you can find a set of A6 rods and pistons or an A6 blocks, you can probably get it pretty fucking cheap. Even me, the pistons I'm using right now are D&J, and the D&J pistons are $50. Of course, that's just going off the biggest budget. But at the end of the day, these engines don't produce anywhere near any kind of power for you have to worry too much about being sketchy on what you're using. I mean, we're talking about well beyond sub 200 wheel horsepower here. So is this one of those things where is a single cam going to make all kinds of power? No, and I've always ranted and raved against that. People wanting 200 wheel horsepower out of a single cam, it's just hard to come by. These P29 compression pistons are damn near 13 compression, right? So damn near 13, right? And so we're in the high 12s in compression and still only making less than 150 wheel horsepower. So it's just something to keep in mind. But it is definitely a fun budget build, because you got to consider that how much weight you're saving by using a single cam. Single cam engines are very lightweight, so you're saving a lot on weight, right? And it's not very expensive to do this build, and you're still making lower level B series power levels. So definitely a decent thing to look into for a sleeper. Not gonna break any necks on the track, but you might surprise some people on the streets if you're doing some drag racing with people that are B series swap but don't have much mods besides that. So anyway, yeah, I guess this is also a way to give this dude Prelude dude SI a shout out. Just because it's putting out some good information. And just another look at the D series. I'm pretty sure this was tuned on pump. I want to say this was tuned on pump. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was from reading the comments. So if you're listening to me talk about advertising a cell or one of these blocks, these engine blocks, this is what you could potentially be looking at for power levels if you're interested. So For those of you guys that are looking for a decent power upgrade, I want to say that your single cam probably makes like 100, depending on which single cam you have, you're making like 110, 115, maybe 120 if you're lucky for wheel horsepower. So, and you know, it's not an uncommon thing for me to see like 99 or 90 something horsepower depending on the single cam on the dyno. So as a baseline, so that's not when you're looking at 143 overall horsepower, that's not bad at all. Anyway, guys, that's it. It was something quick I wanted to talk about. I wanted to poke out because I spent some time looking into it, and I thought I'd share it with you all. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and peace.